Hello, gardeners. Well, it's been a long, dry season, hasn't it? Not just the summer, but the spring too. And I don't know about you, but it's been a real battle here at Love in Your Garden headquarters to keep the garden looking its best. In fact, I think it's pretty much decided that autumn has already begun. So I thought it'd be a good idea to call in our gardening guru, John Stirland, for our latest podcast to discuss the changing seasons. And we started by discussing how noticeable it is that autumn has already started.
Yes, it is. It is, Rod. And I've noticed that there's quite a few trees. Trees do react very quickly to stress, and they can regulate, of course, how much leaf they have on. And this year, particularly in our area, I think we can look at it, Rod, and say some areas have had quite a lot of rain. Others have had not. I don't know about you, but I've got experience of Fakenham in Norfolk and have moved to Nottingham. Both those places are the grass is brown at the moment. It's
Yeah.
still brown, but it's very, very local.
Let's talk about autumn then, because that's what we're about today. It's the changing season as summer gives way to autumn. Jobs to be doing, autumn plants to be sorting, and spring bulbs to be stocking up with, John, as well.
Yes, the narcissus particularly are in the garden centres. In some of the garden centres, anyway. Yes, because narcissus do like a long season to create a good root system. So if you do want a narcissus, get them and put them in as soon as possible. There's no point in letting them hang around. Get them in there and let them get some root system. And with bulbs, all bulbs, Rod, need to plant deep enough. So about 3 or 4 times the depth of the bulb, that's how deep the nose of the bulb, which is the top bit, needs to be. And they obviously the soil above is their support.
We've started on bulbs, and I was going to leave that to the end, but we've started, so we'll finish, as they said in all the old in Mastermind. Um, a lot of people buy tulip bulbs at the same time as they get the narcissus bulb, but we don't want to be planting tulips just yet.
Oh, absolutely not. No, they tend to like cool soils. Although if this weather keeps on, Rod, I noticed that it suddenly started coming from the east last week, and that's the problem. But I'm sure it'll go back, and we'll have some reasonable weather. But yes, it's best to keep them as cool as possible in a paper bag or something. Don't let them sweat in plastic or anything like that. And they'll be fine, and they can be planted November, even October, November. As soon as that weather gets cooler, we can put them in. And of course, if you're putting them in containers and you have got summer bedding, you don't. Most people get that summer bedding going as long as possible. Feeding them, deadheading, etc. Take it out, and then you can put your tulips and things in end of October, November, and you've got a good display in May.
Well, I'll try my best this year, John. The last 2 years, it's been January and February, but that really is leaving it too late. Um, and you're right about the bedding. I mean, had I not gone away for 2 weeks, I probably would have persisted. But when I've got back, it's just been a dead loss. They get so root bound that they just died off very
Yeah,
quickly.
I mean
So,
it's any plant that same as your Annabelle. If they get under stress, then the sun just scorches the tops. They
yeah.
need that water. Lots of plants can survive the sun quite well, but they've got to have the water round the roots, and that's the big problem. And we always say, when you buy a plant, get to know what it likes first. Hydrangeas don't like a lot of direct sun. They love dappled shade, where you've got sort of a birch or ash, something like that over the top, and that just gives that protection for them from the sun. If you're walking, you shut your eyes. You can always tell when you've gone under a tree because you suddenly feel cooler, and that's what plants like. Always get to know what that plant likes before you put it in, because the sun, to me, is one of the most dangerous elements. It wrecks your paintwork. It wrecks this. It's horrendous if
Wrecks your skin.
it's horrendous if it when it does its work. But in you've just come back from a holiday in the Mediterranean or somewhere, and the Mediterranean plants are used to it.
Yeah.
I've been to Spain, and everywhere's brown, and but they always come back. But the trees are quite happy because they're used to that situation, and they can cope with it. But our trees can't. Well, they can, so long as the water table's there.
Yeah.
And that's one of the most important things with trees, water table. And a lot of the trees now, I have noticed, they are starting, that water table's dropping, because a tree can 300 or 400 gallons a day. And it's amazing. Even on a hillside, you got a water table, but sometimes the same as beech love to be in well drained soil. A lot of people, if they've got wet soil and put a beech hedge in, they'll find it goes. It's hopeless. Beech love to be on the top of a hill. But in 1976, when we had that horrendous summer, or could be wonderful summer to some people, we lost millions of beech trees,
Wow.
as well as others. We had, what was it, 16 days when it never went below 30 degrees.
Okay, well, let's talk about some of the jobs now that as we are in the dog days of summer, as we make that conversion, perhaps people won't be picking this up until the beginning of autumn. What are the jobs to be getting on with?
One of to me, Rod, one of the most important things is somewhere to have a compost heap. I love an open compost heap, perhaps where the hedgehogs and things like that can get in underneath as well, and and that's where all the material, your bedding plants that have gone past it, they can get in there. It's you can put a bit of fertilizer on there if you want. Mix the stuff together. It's most important that we get air into a compost heap, and oh, it's a great thing. Some people hide them, and it's a bit like rhubarb. They hide the rhubarb underneath, the back of a shed or something. A good compost heap can be out in the open and show people what you're doing.
So, well, I've got a little space behind the front garden is out of sight. So could I put all my dead bedding plants into that?
Yeah, absolutely. Bedding plants, grass cuttings, but a good mix. Sometimes it's worth having two, so that you can put stuff in one, and then when you put the grass cuttings in your main one, I'll put a bit of bedding in now, or put a few leaves in now, and then a bit more grass, because grass is high in nitrogen, so that helps the rotting as well. It's amazing. You get grass cuttings, and put you if you go in for your lunch and the box is full of grass cuttings, you put your hand in after you come back out. It's starting to get warm because they're starting to ferment already, and it's does a compost heap a world of good, does the grass cuttings, but we need that material, other material in there. And also remember, Rod, it wants to be somewhere where it can get rained on as well. You need moisture, and if you keep it nice and loose, you'll get the drainage as well, and so it'll get nice and wet. It'll all work, but it won't get sloppy and like slushy, like it very often can do. Wonderful stuff to put back in the garden. You'll never make enough to go back in the garden, but each year you can mulch perhaps certain things. It's quite a management job, a garden.
Yeah.
This year wants that. That's why we always have a book or something to write things in. That wants that, that can have the compost this year. Other things can have it another year. And of course, we can bring manure or whatever in.
Okay, so that's one job then. Get the compost heap going. I think you've converted me there. I shall do that straight away. What
Yes,
else?
yes, absolutely. And of course, as we get into autumn, there's planting. If you put in any new trees and shrubs in, again, get to know the best place for them, and a plant. I don't like putting too much compost and things into the ground, and when I'm planting, I want the roots of that um, shrub or anything to search. And if you make that lovely and cozy, the roots go out and say, "Ooh, I don't like this." I'm going back. I'm staying here. So and even with container plants, you can also loosen some of the roots on the outside as well. You'll never kill it. Even deciduous evergreens, evergreens, you can actually just nibble a few of the roots out just to let them get going outwards rather than in a container, of course. As we buy them nowadays, they go round and round and round, and
Yes.
you don't want them to keep doing that.
No. What about Acers? Because I mean, I think they've had a pretty tough year. But I'm just looking at my one of my Acers, and that's doing really well. But the other one is at the front. It's
Yes,
even though it was under the tree in the dappled shade,
yeah,
it managed still to get burnt to a crisp.
yes,
So
yes, they do. The Acer palmatums, the bigger leaf ones, they seem to be able to cope so long as again they've got enough moisture around the roots. But the dissectums,
yeah,
they're the ones that really do suffer. Particularly, I mean, a lot of places have been having showers, and then the sun's come out, and showers and suns come out. That is what they can't stand, because it's the droplets of water are like a magnifying glass, and it just burns them. It burns them away. Again, they love to be under the dappled shade, and they can usually cope then. But you know, you've got to remember, Rod, that all these plants have been brought from all different parts of the world. It's absolutely amazing to me that Britain can cope. They can come here and still survive.
yeah.
The great plant hunters went out and brought us all these plants, and you've got something in the garden from China, next to something from North America, next to something from Mexico, and yet they all survive. We are so lucky. We are so lucky to be able to do that.
What about feeding plants at this time of year? I mean, are there? I look at the trees, and they've had a quite tough time with the drought. Do we give them a little feed at this time of year, or is that
So
not a good idea?
um, we don't really feed unless they've got the moisture around the roots. If you've had plenty of rain, yes, you can give them a little bit of feed, but go now for the potash and phosphates. Don't want too much nitrogen. What we don't want is plants to be growing and putting on growth at this time of year. It'll be soft. The days are coming in now. They really are coming in as well.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And but what about, I always mention potash for health and fruit and flower, but that health thing is one of the most important things at this time of year. So with anything, with your lawn, etc., we're cutting down the nitrogen now. And if you want to give them anything, sulfate of potash is a great fertilizer. It really is.
And lawn care at this time of year. I mean, it's a good time to scarify, isn't it?
What?
Autumn.
Yes. I mean, the old groundsman will tell you that they scarify right the way through summer.
Yeah.
Just a gentle scarify, bring all that thatch and stuff up, and then over with the mower. But obviously, in a garden, we don't perhaps go to that much trouble. Some people do.
Okay, so be careful with the feeding. You're a big fan of potash at this time of year, and lawn care. If you're putting on a feed at this time of year, it needs to be autumn feed, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, an autumn feed, and yeah, just make sure if it's rained, it rains after it's gone on. It's best if you can look for a time when it's going to rain, then
Yeah.
it'll be taken in. But yeah, I mean, it's lovely to see a lawn, in autumn looking really, really good. It is.
Okay. I'm just trying to think of that. Roses, they're still producing. We've still
Yes.
got plenty of
Uh,
roses around.
Absolutely, and a great time October as they starting to it gets really cold is to have a go at hardwood cuttings. You know, pieces of rose that have grown this year. You take a piece, cut below a joint, cut above a joint or where a bud is, about as long as a pair of secateurs, and pop that in the soil, some nice loose soil in the north side of a house or whatever, somewhere where the sun doesn't get to it too much. And you never know, next year at this time you might be digging up a new rose. And they do work on their own root system, but of course you can control the growth if it's budded like they normally do. But we had a bed of roses on their own roots, and it was fantastic
Wow.
many years ago. Oh, it's great. Propagation,
Yes.
producing your own plant.
Yeah. And also, I suppose we're getting to that time of year when you want to be dropping hints about a new pair of secateurs or a new pair of loppers, something like that, because we go through those every year, don't we? They start to get blunt and pretty rubbish.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you've got a good pair,
Well,
you
I
can
lose the good pairs.
yeah, you can sharpen them as well. But yeah, it's yeah, great, and you can't have too many pairs of secateurs.
John, so we could talk forever, couldn't we? But I think that's a really timely, useful conversation to be having as we move into the early autumn days. And well, we'll be back to talk as the season progresses. We'll be back to talk some more about some of the jobs
Yeah,
that we can be getting
yes.
on with.
I just mentioned, Rod, as well. One or two of the things as we get the frosts and they go over. If you look, got quite a few herbaceous perennials. Keep an eye on them, and as the frost takes them, just look at them and think that's quite ornamental when it's got frost on as well. So you
Yeah.
can leave those because they are very useful for insects to overwinter down the stems and things like that. So
Yeah. Teasels are very good for that. Eryngium,
yes.
yeah, all of those sort of things.
Yeah, the grasses look fabulous when the frost's
Yes.
on them. Yeah,
Oh, the grasses are in the. Richard Chuck would be here forever telling us about all the different
yeah.
grasses that do so well
And
in
then,
autumn.
yeah, and another thing while we're going into autumn is to, if you're thinking of new shrubs and things like that, just have a look at some of the winter flowering, the viburnum fragrans and viburnum bodnantens and hamamelis and things like that. Just keep an eye on the pH of your soil, but there's a lot of wonderful shrubs and things that are for winter, and
Yeah,
they really are wonderful, and it makes you want to open the curtains and see them. And of course, with the cool conditions in winter, the flowering lasts and lasts and lasts.
yes,
And of course, we've got
yes,
the hellebores. Oh, there's so much to look forward to. The
yeah,
hellebores, the cyclamen coum,
uh,
fabulous. Yeah, it's so.
yeah.
That's the wonderful thing about gardening. Always looking forward to the next month.
I must get some more cyclamen combs. Planting cyclamen comb, I struggled last year when I bought a whole box full, and I struggled knowing which way up to put them because they're so similar on both sides. Is there
Yeah,
a bit of a
normally there's just a little. It's just concave on the top. But yeah, it's. I've actually got some, Rod, that are in pots at the moment. I brought some of my old ones. I potted them up, and they're just coming up now. And one did actually. I thought, where's the flowers? And I turned it over and they were upside down, so it's now the right way up.
Excellent. All right, John, always a pleasure. And if you'd like to ask John and take advantage of his vast experience, any questions at all, do get in touch. It's Rod at lovingyourgarden.org. Rod at lovingyourgarden.org, and just email me, and we'll put the questions to John. You can also catch him on my radio show on Boom Radio Sunday mornings from 8 o'clock, and John is on at 9:30. And again, you can email me there, and we'll put the questions. And thank you very much indeed, and happy gardening.
Yes, happy gardening, Rod.